Will dense assisted living facilities be as dangerous? Yes, they will be. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that here in the last few days, a assisted living home in Glasgow, Scotland, they found 13 dead in a week. And they didn't test any of the people in the assisted living. The two of the current employees have been hospitalized with the corona. Apparently, I don't know if it's true, gave it to the 13 elderly people, all in their 80s and above, and they all died. Now, unfortunately, this hits home even more for me, because the assisted living was a Four Seasons assisted living, which Four Seasons was part of the famous deal that the Guthrie Group was instrumental in getting done, that we took a public company private. It was Glasgow based at that time, and our prayers are with all of the kids that have been affected by the corona. How long do you think a shutdown? I think the shutdown maybe 6 to 9 months, but it's going to affect us at least a year and a half. Will all industries be affected by the coronas and therefore be ripe for yes? But there's certain industries, remember, that you should stay away from, the ones I've already mentioned. Which financial institutions are hot to approach now to lend money in the Netherlands to use the tsunami as a super success tool? All the banks, but the ones that are sponsoring or supporting government programs. Given the current situation, are there any changes with regards to securing finance visa banks for our deals? The banks are going to be slower to lend. They're going to be looking for a higher percentage for debt service to be covered by cash flow. I'm guessing that probably a minimum of 1.75 to 2 times. We are currently in the due diligence period to sell a division of our business. We felt we were setting a good deal. We were getting a good deal based on LOI. Buyers are getting their quality of earnings report shortly and will be sending over a contract. What changes should we expect from them? And what's acceptable in my view? Okay. Well, if they don't offer you significantly less, then they're brain dead. Okay. It depends how bad you want to get a hold of it, guys. But remember, cash is king. You mentioned how tech companies that were once impossible to purchase due to the astronomical multiples are now going to be open to start acquiring. What industries are now open to QLA model that were not previously? No, they were all susceptible, if you will, to a QLA model. Some were just more expensive, and you had to use more seller finance. So that hasn't changed. What were the general lending parameters of banks? They're not going to be any general lending parameters. The banks, if they're going to use a loan to value model, they're going to want 50% equity in the deal, which we can't do or won't do. What is the best way to use this downsize to minimize the loss of momentum in an industry that is currently closed and where the possibility of doing actual deals is slim to none? This downtime is where you prospect, you make calls, you get people that are ready, you tune them up. What fundamentals have changed? Again, everything's the same other than you have to make more calls. I'm getting all the ones that got away phoning me now. I'm sure you are. Their increased motivation to sell is linked to their anticipated decrease of revenue and profit. The numbers will be much softer. And since no one has a crystal ball except me, you, Mr. Peña, thank you. Am I naive and still going balls deep into specialty construction niche that I'm in? My gut says go forth and rid the credit facilities and government backbones all the way to profit annihilation. Now, this kid I know, he had a small construction company, and now he's doing healthcare. And he wants to know whether he can go back into healthcare. He hasn't made a deal yet. He's got his dream team and all that set up. Well, it depends if they're really motivated now. And if seller finance really works. with them. As a lot of the companies have no or significant reduced revenue for the next 3 to 6 months, when do you think that there will be a significant increase? 12 months from now. A significant increase in the amount of motivated sellers. Well, they're motivated now, but they'll get more realistic vis-a-vis their price the longer the cutoff of cash flow lasts. Now or in a few months, people will realize the government incentive is not enough to keep the business going. Now, if it's anything like here in the United Kingdom, the government subsidies are only for a couple months. They're paying up to 80% of your employees' pay, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to last longer than 2 months. That's why the $2 trillion stimulus, for example, that has been allocated for the United States is probably a third to a fifth as much as it's going to have to be, because we're going to need a lot more than $2 trillion. What are the main changes? There are no changes other than more phone calls. What is the best way to play the oil market now? Dan, you're an oil guy. How far do you expect the price to fall? I already said that it would see below 40 before it saw 200. Now, we have, roughly speaking, 10 to 15 million barrels a day in excess of demand. Now, what are we going to do with those 10 or 15 million barrels? So, I mean, it's with fracking and increased overproduction, the oil business is in a hard place. It's between a rock and a hard place. Whether the Arabs and Russia come to an agreement, I have no idea. What is the best way to take advantage of this? The best way to take advantage of this is I'm not unless you can get 100% owner financing. I'm not in the business of thinking that you're going to make money in the oil business. There are certain funds in the oil business that are not, investment funds that are precluding any investment in oil or oil related now. I'm on my 5th day of a 21-day national lockdown in South Africa as a result of the COVID-19 virus. 90% of the industries are literally closed down. The country is locked down and all the traveling is restricted. There's a possibility of the lockdown being extended. I would be surprised if it's not extended. How do I ensure my acquisition program is not compromised? Because I was building momentum every day, generating pipeline. The only way that you're never going to be able to guarantee that it's not compromised 100%, but double your output vis-a-vis calls and connections. During the financial tsunami, which lending facilities will be desperate to lend, they're all going to be desperate to lend. Assuming the vaccine is out in 2021 and there is drugs that treat the infected by May, when will the recovery happen? It's my best guess. It's going to be two to three times longer than everybody's guessing, but it's going to be sometime in 2021. Hopefully, sometime in 2021. Hello, Dan. During the $1 Trillion Man event, when asked how to man up, how to uncut yourself, your advice to the audience was to be as selfish and obnoxious as possible, both in private and public life. Stop caring about the feelings of other people who mean nothing to you, and put yourself first in all areas of your life. Do you still agree? Yes. Be more ruthless. But funny enough, you will think that you're taking advantage of these people, but you're not. You're taking advantage of the situation, not them. And if you're buying their business, if you don't buy their business with probably close to 100% seller finance, nobody's going to buy their business. And they're going to think you an asshole. So get over it. Should we keep negotiating or wait until the economy gets worse to take advantage? Start negotiating now. Lower price, What are healthcare verticals will benefit from the coronavirus? Almost all. I am 1.5 million euros in cash, liquid, sitting in the bank accounts right now. If Dan were in my shoes, I wouldn't invest the money anyplace. Keep your cash, sweetheart. Cash will be king, even more king in 6 months. How will a crisis affect the financial situation? What do you mean? Multiple banks and states in Europe are financially in financial trouble, yes. And what are the consequences when they fall? Also, the housing market is skyrocketing. Are the both bubbles? Well, the housing market has already been in collapse in America, the rich housing market, for the last 5 or 6 months. Hopefully they won't both burst at the same time. What is it going to be, the COVID-19 impact on cybersecurity? The contracts will still be hot. So I would, other than it's going to reduce prices or the ratios that you have to pay for them. If Dan would still be on the battlefield, what businesses areas would Dan be active in or turn his attention to? Healthcare. Top industries you see with most riding the financial collapse, spoils of war, and top industries in the rebuild phase post collapse, healthcare. We're not in the turnaround business. Remember, we're not. We want things. Healthcare will resume. It's just going to resume different. I'm sure there are going to be individual businesses that pop up because of Corona. I don't know any of them right now, but there will be. With the economic changes, what are from now the industries that are the most in chaos and favorable? Well, you say except telco and healthcare. There aren't any. When will the epidemic end? I wish I knew. I'm correct. You have stated that will probably last 18 months. That's correct. What are the reasons you believe the cruise industry is over? Why cruise ships will be available for 5 cents in a pound of scrap metal? I may have exaggerated the 5 cents a pound, but the cruise ships aren't going to be anywhere near as popular. You're not going to want to get on a boat with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people. And then, especially since some of the ports have refused to allow the people in. I mean, in port. No sales in the business, no cash flow, cannot repay the loans. All stock and sales points locked down due to COVID. I cannot repay the loans as cash flow dried out. What can I do? You have to get, you appeal to your lenders to get respite off your loan payments. You appeal to your landlord for the same. You appeal to get money from the government. Now that I may be filing for bankruptcy on my business, the lenders will likely come after me personally, causing a personal bankruptcy also. How should I proceed with the banks and board if occurred? For the thing that you've personally signed for, you're on the hook. But, I mean, the banks are supposed to be giving you special dispensation. You need to remind them of the government law. I don't think that the board will turn and run. They may turn and run, but none of your board members are personally liable. But you've got, and I know who wrote this, but I mean, the board that you put together was for new acquisitions, unless you're referring to a board that you have for your existing business, which I realize is in trouble. Advice for people in the middle of the bedpan roll-up. Renegotiate prices down. What should I take advantage of during recession chaos? Well, Janet Yellen, the former head of the Federal Reserve, was on television over the weekend, and she said they were talking to her about, is this a V-shaped recovery, a U-shaped recovery, or an L-shaped? And she said that it's possible to have a V-shape, but she wasn't very optimistic about that. What she was concerned about is not having a depression. What opportunities do people working with schools, educational opportunities have? Education is the future, and rolling up small educational boutiques is a possibility. Where are we currently in the cycle of downturn in the market? We're only about 4 to 8 weeks into the downturn. When can we expect the most opportunities to come available business and real estate to buy? We are going to have opportunities for, I won't say years, but at least the rest of this year. And in my opinion, that's why the companies with the big cash hoards, including Warren Buffett, haven't committed any cash because things are going to get worse.